If there was no such chick flick tailor-made for Audrey Hepburn, we might never have the term dorky cuteness. And let's not forget, chick flick itself got its name from Hepburn's role as sweet chick, a cute, naive girl in this film. Without it, the movie industry would also be missing a classic trope, the clueless wife trope. The movie kicks off with suspense, but let's be real, Hepburn's beauty can handle even the no-makeup style raw plot. In the film, she's on vacation in Switzerland. Seriously, they could have filmed this scene anywhere, right? But the Hollywood crew went all the way to Switzerland for location shooting. Why? Because Hepburn was a total box office guarantee. It's just like the James Bond franchise, if she's in it, it's a hit. Plus, it let them capture those stunning iconic scenes. Back then, Hollywood's golden age had just ended, and TVS were just starting to become popular. People were obsessed with big-budget location shot blockbusters like this. Then the male lead shows up, and his entrance makes perfect sense. A rambunctious kid throws a snowball at a millionaire, and he helps take the kid back to his mom. Just so you know, a millionaire back then was way richer than modern-day small goal, you know, the ones that are actually huge. That just goes to show how luxurious and high quality this scene is. Hepburn's BFF is super thoughtful. She takes her son left the millionaire. Hepburn says something hilarious. "You're blocking my view." When he asks, "Which side am I blocking?" she just says, "All of it." That's when Hepburn gets to interact with the male lead, even flirt a little. That classic, polished charm from Hollywood's golden age, and the vibe of their banter, it's what that Chinese actor, the one who collects antiques, but isn't great at acting, calls eyebrow comedy. But this eyebrow thing? Partly it's because the characters are upper-class gents and ladies, but mostly it's because of the super strict Hollywood production code back then. It's not the kind where you have to think hard to laugh. If you do have to think, that's just because the joke wasn't good in the first place. When Hepburn gets home, she's shocked. The house is completely empty. Her husband is nowhere to be found, and there's nothing left but the load-bearing walls. Then the police chief shows up and tells her, "I'm afraid your husband is dead. He was killed on the train tracks, pushed off the train. And from the boat ticket he booked, it looks like he was planning to go to the port and flee to Latin America." But then comes the scene that's totally groundbreaking and eye-catching. Hepburn has no clue about anything related to her husband. She doesn't even know what he did for a living. How could she be so oblivious? If this were any other actress, we'd be annoyed, but it's Hepburn. She's like Kelly Chen in that vibe. She just comes off as helpless and adorable. Actually, this movie is the inspiration for Kelly Chen's storyline in Tokyo Raiders. Let's be honest, it's the dumbed-down female lead trope. She's supposed to be a highly educated, brave woman. How could she not know anything about her husband? Sure, this happens in real life, but on screen, it's really hard to make audiences buy it, but with Hepburn, it works. As long as there's one actress that audiences will unconditionally protect and believe in, the script works. And the script is super audience-friendly. We're just as in the dark about her husband as Hepburn is. We know exactly what she knows. For a suspense mystery movie, this setup grabs viewers' attention right away. From what we can find in records, Hepburn's husband sold all their family assets while she was on vacation, making $150,000. Do you know how valuable that was back then? $100 could buy 80 grams of gold. That means $150,000 back then is nearly $14 million today. But in the things her husband left behind, there were no bank books, no jewelry, nothing valuable. Clearly, that money vanished into thin air. His messy bag had all his stuff, and the only thing related to Hepburn was an unsent letter. But it was just casual greetings, no useful clues at all. A dead, mysterious husband, plus Hepburn we see on the surface. The suspense just blows up. Danger starts closing in on Hepburn. Hepburn is alone at home, feeling sad, when she suddenly hears footsteps. Then someone opens the door. She's screaming, "Oh my God, help!" in her head, but she forces herself to stay calm and holds back a scream. Turns out, the newspaper ran her husband's obituary, and the male lead came right over after seeing it. This kind of rushing to comfort someone after seeing an obituary thing is a way of life that's long gone, but once real. Hepburn's job is actually super impressive. she's a simultaneous interpreter. After comforting her, the male lead even helps her find a place to stay. Then comes her husband's funeral, and here's a classic scene. Only 3 people showed up. Leopold Gideon, calculating and cold. Tex Pantaloo, a lean American with a cowboy stare. Herman Scobie, a brute with a steel hook for a hand. Each of them shows their personality perfectly through how they act, and they all test if Hepburn's husband is faking his death in their own ways. Hepburn still looks so cute and innocent. Right then, someone hands her a letter. Your letter, madam. Hepburn gets an invitation from the US Embassy, asking her to go to the Treasury Department office at 12:30. When she meets with the Treasury guy, he lays out the full story. Back in 1944, your husband Lambeau, Tex, Herman, Leopold, and a man named Dial were part of a secret spy team. They stole $250,000 in gold from the US government, planning to split it equally after the war. But Lambeau double-crossed them. He took all the gold for himself. Dahl died in the war, so the other 3 spent years hunting Lambeau down. Then Treasury guy showed her some photos. She immediately recognized them. Those were the 3 people from the funeral. With Lambeau now dead for real, the survivors believe Hepburn has their $250,000 or knows where it is. Treasury guy's advice is crisp and not at all comforting. They will come for you. There's a little detail here. Hepburn's husband was actually a savvy investor. But Hepburn has no idea about any of this, and she's even being followed by the police chief. Just then, the male lead shows up again. He comforts her and invites her to dinner. When Hepburn hears dinner date, her eyes light up. Keep in mind, this is before the 7th day of her husband's death, a traditional mourning period in some cultures, and she's still a widow. But so what? She's Audrey Hepburn. When she's happy, we, the audience, are happy too. Later that night, they go to a nightclub, and guess what? The games people played there were pretty much the same as now. And the 3 men from the funeral threaten her they do. Shortly after, Hepburn and the male lead are at a party when the trio strikes. First, Leopold corners her, spitting venomous threats about her life. Then Tex ambushed her in a phone booth, shoving her against the glass in a terrifying display. That night, back at their hotel, Herman crashes through the window, his mechanical hand clamping down on Hepburn's throat, trying to strangle her. The male lead fights him off, but as soon as Herman flees, the male lead climbs out the window and meets up with the 3 men. Take it slow, he tells them. I've got her trust. Wait a minute, was the male lead in on it all along? Is he just using Hepburn to get the $250,000? Hepburn finds out the truth sooner than she expects. Herman, greedy and paranoid, has a falling out with the others. He wants the money for himself, so he calls Hepburn directly. The male lead is lying to you, he's working with us. Hepburn's world crumbles. She has no idea where the money is, and now the man she's growing to trust is a fraud. She flees, calling Treasury guy to report everything, and manages to evade the male lead's pursuit. Meanwhile, the male lead and Herman get into a brutal fight. Herman, once again wielding his mechanical hand, tries to strangle the male lead on the hotel roof. After a chaotic brawl, the male lead traps Herman under the eaves and staggers back to his room, bleeding heavily. Hepburn, despite her anger, bandages his wounds. That's when he tells her his truth. I'm Dial's brother. I just want to get back what my brother was owed. Hepburn hesitates if he was working with Herman. Why would Herman try to kill him? She chooses to believe him, and their bond deepens. They even fall in love. But the chaos isn't over. The remaining 2 men, Tex and Leopold, kidnap a young relative of Hepburn's, threatening to harm the child unless she hands over the money. The male lead decides to confront them head-on. First, he says to Tex and Leopold, how do we know one of you didn't kill Lambeau and take the money already? Second, she doesn't have it. Search her room if you don't believe me. They ransack Hepburn's apartment, but find nothing except Lambeau's old bag, filled with letters and passports. Then, as they search the bathroom, Leopold screams, Herman is dead, drowned in the bathtub. Who killed him? The police are called, but before anyone can process the shock, another twist hits. Treasury guy calls Hepburn. We checked, Dial never had a brother. The male lead has been lying to you this entire time. Devastated, Hepburn confronts the male lead that night. Who are you? Really, he finally confesses, "I'm an international thief," but here's the kicker. His honesty only makes Hepburn fall harder for him. When they return to the hotel, they find Leopold dead in the elevator, shot point blank. Now only Tex is left. Could he be the killer? Is he trying to take the money for himself? Tex, desperate, wanders into a philatelic market, and suddenly, he realizes the truth. Lambo didn't have cash. He'd converted the $250,000 into rare stamps, hidden on the letters in his old bag. The male lead follows Tex, and figures it out too. He returns to the hotel, holds Tex at gunpoint, and Tex shows him the envelope with stamps removed. Hepburn takes the stamps to a collector, who confirms their value. These 3 stamps are over 100 years old. One dates back to the era of Dracula. Together, they are worth exactly $250,000, but when she gets back to the hotel, Tex is dead. His last act was scrawling a name on the carpet. D-Y-L-E. Hepburn's blood runs cold. This is a message pointing to the male lead, who'd pretended to be Dial's brother. She calls Treasury Guy, rushes to meet him, and is immediately followed by the male lead. "I'm not the killer," he shouts, but Hepburn refuses to listen. She evades him on the subway. Finally reaching Treasury Guy, only for the male lead to catch up, sprinting like Cary Grant in North by Northwest. Now Hepburn is trapped between the two men. The male lead is lying. Treasury Guy yells, "He's the killer," but the male lead fires back. "He's the fake. He's Dale's real brother. He's been impersonating a CIA agent to steal the stamps." Hepburn is torn. Who can she trust? In the chaos, the male lead fires a shot, missing intentionally, then slips away to a nearby Grand Theater. What follows is a tense game of cat and mouse. Using his knowledge of the theater's stage mechanics, the male lead activates a hidden trap, sending Treasury Guy plummeting to his death. The truth finally comes out. Treasury Guy was indeed Dial's brother, impersonating a CIA agent to manipulate Hepburn and steal the stamps. With the villain dead, Hepburn and the male lead decide to return the $250,000 to the US government. And then, one last twist, the male lead reveals his true identity. He's a high-ranking CIA officer, sent to protect Hepburn and catch the thieves all along. He'd gotten close to her to lure the criminals out of hiding. In the end, the stolen money is returned, the bad guys are dead, proving that in Charade, nothing is ever as it seems. That's the magic of Hepburn's beauty: simple dresses, soft colors, nothing loud. She adores food, yet somehow never gains a pound. In the film, she's just a young widow, unimpressed by the missing $250,000, and far more concerned with whether the charming fraud before her actually loves her. Those wide Hepburn eyes, sometimes blinking fast, sometimes widening in surprise, paired with her delicate 170cm frame, reminded us that even at 34, no longer the fairy tale princess from Roman Holiday, she's still a sprite. A woman who can change the very color of a film by simply walking into frame. And then there's the male lead, Cary Grant. Still the same blend of mischief, poise, and quiet masculinity, a man of the 1950s, half gentleman, half rogue. That era's signature is so deep in his gestures that even decades later, when we see a 70-year-old Sean Connery flirting with Catherine Zeta-Jones in Entrapment, it's that same breed of man, witty, playful, a little vain, and irresistibly tender. No wonder audiences keep falling for it. The supporting cast may speak little, but each one is drawn like a caricature, sharp, funny, unforgettable. A French inspector threatening Americans with the guillotine, embassy clerks cracking bad Cold War jokes about the Soviets. It's that unmistakable American flavor, part self-mockery, part arrogance, part charm. You can hate it or laugh at it, but you'll never mistake where it comes from. When, near the end, Hepburn walks into the US Embassy and calls the guard at the door a soldier, he corrects her with military pride, Marine Corps, ma'am. That kind of earnest pedantry only exists in American films. The same spirit that makes Navy and Army cadets shout rival slogans at football games. Sink the Navy, beat the Army. Silly, yes, but undeniably American, and that's the secret snack of Hollywood cinema, whether you love or loathe it. Its taste is so distinct you recognize it at once. As for the film itself, I believe this is Stanley Donen's best work. The plot is tight, the rhythm precise, gentle romance, then a sudden surge of tension, a pause for tenderness, then another rush forward. It's the director's sleight of hand, almost theatrical, using just a few sets, repeating the rhythm, yet never letting the story slow down enough for you to spot the seams. The most pretentious, and perhaps most charming, element is how Donen sprinkles humor and romance into a thrilling script. The most breathtaking scene, the night view of the Seine, where searchlights from passing boats catch couples kissing along the riverbanks. A friend once told me that 50 years later, the Seine still looks the same, couples embracing naturally, unposed, unashamed, so different from the loud performative freedom of today's culture. No wonder Hepburn's young widow glows with such longing. It must be something in the Paris air. That's what lets this suspense story end, not with fear, but with sweetness and a lingering aftertaste. This is a story, a cunning, delightful, beautifully crafted story. Through it, we glimpse not only the cleverness of the plot, but the city that never stops enchanting, and the woman who still seems to walk its streets, light as a dream, unchanged by time. This is ParadoxReel, signing off. See you next time.